These notes will cover page 4-15 and 4-16. So we are looking at indirect measurement, meaning using something you know to measure something you don't know. So we use the property of similar triangles. To find things that are hard to measure. The majority of these problems are going to use shadows. So you're going to look at two different objects and their shadows. So you will know 3 of the measurements and have to find the 4th one. I highly recommend drawing a picture when you do these, and all of the pictures will look the same, and you also don't have to worry about whether you draw them correctly, meaning did I get them the same length that they need to be and that sort of thing. So for number 1, we have a flagpole and we have its shadow. The shadow is 32 feet long, it says. Then we have Evan, who has a 9-foot shadow. Evan is 6 feet tall. We are trying to figure out how tall is the flagpole, so that's where my X will go. So that's what I mean by drawing a picture. They'll pretty much all be L's. If you want to think of it as a triangle, you can, but I just think of it as an L. So you have 2 objects. Here we have a flagpole and a person, and then their shadows. So they will always make right angles. Now, over here, it tells you that notice it says sample. So one way to do this is to put the height and the shadow of the same object in one ratio. So if we were to, I'm going to show you 2 different ways. If we were to do that for this problem, we would have x over 32 equals 6 over 9. That's one way to do it. I personally always go across. So instead of doing object to shadow, I actually go object to object, shadow to shadow. So I'm going to go this direction. X over 6 equals 32 over 9. Remember, your first ratio doesn't matter as long as you don't do x and 9, because those 2 don't match up. All right, but whether you do x over 32 or x over 6, that doesn't matter. What matters then is that you make sure that you match up object to object, meaning I started with x and then I went over to 6, so then I need to go back to 32 over 9. Or if you did x over 32, you got to go back to the 6 before you do the 9. All right, so just making sure you set this up correctly no matter which way you do it. And I'm already out of room, but we would have 9x equals 192. Again, multiply, multiply, divide by 9. And I'm going to finish it over here since I have room. We would get x equals 21.3 repeating. I want you to change that to 21 1/3 feet. It asks how tall the flagpole is, so that is in feet. It'd be really great if we knew that 1/3 of 12 is 4, so 21 feet 4 inches would be a great answer. So number 2, we have a stop sign with a shadow. The shadow is 4 feet long. A tree has a shadow that's 36 feet long. The stop sign, so back to that picture, is 7 feet tall. How tall is the tree means my x goes over there. So again, it is up to you if you want to use 7 and 4 or if you want to use 7 and x. I'm personally going to use 7 and x. And I go right from left to right. If you want to always use the x first, that's fine. It is totally up to you. There are 8 different proportions you could set up for this. All right, I always just go this way first. So 7 over x equals 4 over 36. Then we solve that. 4x is equal to 252 divide by 4, and we get 63 feet. We are trying to find how tall the tree is, so 63 feet. Number 3, we have a 28-foot tall building, and it has a 35-foot shadow. We have a truck. That shadow is 16 7/8. We're trying to figure out how tall the truck is. So again, how you set up the proportion is up to you. Just to do something different, I will go this way first. So 28 over 35 is equal to x over 16 7/8. $35x is equal to 472.5. So 472.5 you can use. Divide. We should get 13.5, but write that as 13 1/2 feet. The truck is 13 1/2 feet tall. Number 4, we have a 45-foot water slide, and its shadow is 30. We have a 4-foot tall child, and we are trying to figure out how tall or how long the shadow is. So this one, I'll go back to going across. 45 over 4 is equal to 30 over x. Again, how you start the proportion is up to you. Just make sure you go back and are doing the correct order for the second one. So cross multiply. 45x is equal to 120. Divide by 45. You're going to get 2.6 repeating, so we need that to be 2 2/3 feet. Again, change that 0.6 repeating to 2/3. You could also say 2 feet 9 inches if you would like to be more exact. Number 5, we have to be really careful. We have Amara who's 5 feet 6 inches tall. You cannot put 56 or 5.6. You need to change it to 5.5. Why? Well, 6 out of 12. There are 12 inches in a foot, so 6 out of 12 is a half, or 5.5 is what I'm going to put. And the shadow is 2 feet. We have a roller coaster that has a 120-foot shadow, so we'll put an X there. So 5.5 over x is equal to 2 over 120. So cross multiply. 2x equals 660. Divide, and the roller coaster is 330 feet tall. Number 6, we have a lighthouse whose shadow is 32 meters. And then we have a statue whose shadow is 9 meters. The statue, so what I just drew, is 11.25 meters tall. We need to find the length or the height of the lighthouse. So again, make sure you just read through. That's why I suggest drawing a picture. X over 11.25 is equal to 32 over 9. So multiply. 9x equals 360. Divide, and we get 40 meters. Number 7, we have the Arc de Triomphe in France. So that is 164 feet. Its shadow is 98 2/5. We have a street lamp that is 9 feet long. We're trying to figure out how tall the lamp is. So 164 over x equal to 98. I know that's 98.4, so I'm going to use that instead of 2/5, just a little bit easier to type in, over 9. So 98.4x is equal to 1476. And we divide, and we get 15 feet is how tall that lamp is. Here we have Clint, and we have the Empire State Building. The Empire State Building is 1250. Clint is 6'3", so again, that doesn't mean 6.3. 3 out of 12 is 1/4, which is 0.25. So 6.25 is what we would need to put for Clint's height. Clint has a shadow that's 2.5 feet. We're trying to find the length of the shadow of the Empire State Building. So 6.25 over 1250 is equal to 2.5 over x. Again, you also could do these two over those two. Cross multiply, 6.25x is equal to 3125. Divide, and we end up with 500 feet for the shadow of the Empire State Building. These last two, instead of using shadows, we're just using pictures. So again, matching up the things that are in the same place. Here's the x, that's what we're trying to find, matches with the 82.5. So I'm going to put those in the first one. Since I used x, now I need to use 24, because 24 is in the same triangle as the x, and then over 15. So we cross multiply, 15x is equal to 1980, divide, and we get 132 feet. Number 10, we're trying to go from Avon to Franklin, so I'm going to put an X right there. So that X is across from the right angle, so across from the right angle is 150. So I'm going to do X over 150 equals, since I did X, I need to go back and use the 80 on the top and 128 on the bottom. Cross multiply, 128x is equal to 12,000. Divide, and we end up with 93.75. So you need to change that to 93 3/4 miles. So again, for these, if they don't give you a picture like these last two, just draw that picture. It's always going to be an L. You'll have 2 objects and 2 shadows. So just make sure you put them in the correct places and then set up your proportion, either going object to shadow, or you can go object to object, shadow to shadow, whichever one you prefer.